Most people believe their money is safe in the bank, but almost every dollar you have is just a claim, not true ownership. Powerful clearinghouses and hidden risk algorithms can freeze your access overnight, legally, without warning. What is quietly written into your banking agreement could turn your balance to zero in a system-wide crisis. How is this possible? Who enabled it? And what happens if those hidden switches are flipped? David Webb spent decades on Wall Street watching the rules of finance change from the inside. In the past, if you bought a stock, you received a paper certificate with your name on it. The asset was yours, physically and legally. But that system faded as digital trading exploded. Now, nearly every share, bond, or fund is held in a central pool by a custodian, not by the person who paid for it. The term for what you actually own is security entitlement. It sounds technical, but the difference is huge. Instead of true ownership, you have a claim, a right to the value, not the asset itself. The legal paperwork, often buried in brokerage and bank agreements, spells this out. When you open an account and click "I agree," you consent to these terms, even if you never read them. Behind the scenes, clearinghouses like DTCC hold over 99% of all United States securities in their name, not yours. Your account shows a balance, but legally it is just a record of your entitlement, not a direct title. Webb argues this shift was not accidental. Over decades, lawmakers and industry lobbyists rewrote the rules, replacing personal property rights with a streamlined, centralized structure. The goal was efficiency and stability, but the side effect is that individuals lost direct control. In a crisis, this legal structure allows custodians to freeze, pool, or even reallocate assets to protect the system. Most people never notice the change until access disappears. The concept of security entitlement is now the backbone of modern finance, and its consequences reach far beyond Wall Street. Inside the digital backbone of modern finance, automated risk engines monitor the pulse of the system every second. These are not just passive record keepers. They are programmed to react the moment stress crosses certain thresholds. The repo market, where banks lend and borrow overnight using securities as collateral, is one of the first warning lights. If a major institution fails to deliver or to repay, algorithms flag the anomaly instantly. Liquidity alarms sound deep within clearinghouses like DTCC and FICC, triggering a cascade of pre-coded steps. Margin calls are issued automatically. If cash or collateral is not posted within minutes, the risk engine blocks further trades and begins closing out positions. The real power sits with the continuity protocols, lines of code that remain dormant until a crisis hits. When activated, these protocols can halt withdrawals, freeze settlements, and lock down entire segments of the market. During the 2019 repo spike, intraday liquidity alarms almost triggered such emergency routines. In critical moments, these systems bypass human discretion and enforce rules intended to protect the network over any single user. Clearinghouses have published rulebooks that outline these measures, but the exact thresholds remain confidential. What is clear is that these switches are tested regularly under regulatory supervision. Once engaged, customer access becomes secondary to system survival. The transition from normal operations to lockdown can unfold in less than an hour, with most users unaware until their accounts become inaccessible. The entire process is legal, automated, and almost invisible until the moment it happens. A mother stands at the grocery store checkout, her cart full of food for the week. She swipes her debit card, but the screen flashes an error. Transaction unavailable. She tries again, then checks her banking app. Instead of a balance, she sees a spinning wheel and a message that says temporarily unavailable. At the pharmacy down the street, a grandfather waits for his heart medication. His card is declined. The ATM outside shows zero balance, even though his paycheck cleared days earlier. No warning, no explanation, just silence from the machines that usually run without fail. Across town, a small business owner opens her laptop to pay suppliers. The bank website loads a notice about scheduled maintenance. No payments go through. She calls the helpline and gets a recorded message about high call volume and system upgrades. In living rooms and kitchens, families scramble for answers. Was there a hack? A power outage? No one knows. Bills are due, groceries are needed, and every attempt to move money is blocked. The sense of control slips away, replaced by confusion and rising fear. For most, the first hours feel like a digital blackout. Not a classic bank run. It is just an ordinary day that suddenly stops working. Legal protections like FDIC and SIPC are often seen as a safety net for bank customers and investors, but even these guarantees have strict boundaries. FDIC insurance covers up to $250,000 per depositor per bank, but only for deposits, meaning checking accounts, savings accounts, and certificates of deposit. If a bank fails, insured funds are usually made available within a couple of days, but in a large-scale crisis, access can be delayed. The Securities Investor Protection Corporation, SIPC, protects brokerage accounts up to $500,000, including a $250,000 cash limit. Yet SIPC only steps in during broker insolvency and does not guarantee immediate access. During the collapse of MF Global in 2011, customers waited weeks or months for partial payouts, and some never recovered all their funds. When the Reserve Primary Fund froze redemptions in 2008, investors found their supposedly safe cash inaccessible for weeks. In Cyprus in 2013, a government-mandated bail seized nearly half of large deposits overnight, all within the law. These cases show that in emergencies, access to money can be suspended, pooled, or even partially seized, legally. The fine print and legal frameworks prioritize system stability over individual claims, turning what feels like theft into a lawful response. Government officials appear on live broadcasts, assuring the public that the banking freeze is temporary and designed to protect everyone's savings. The term stabilization window is repeated in headlines and press conferences. At the same time, central banks and the Treasury announced the rollout of a new digital credit system. Instead of waiting for old accounts to unlock, users receive access to digital wallets loaded with stability credits. These balances can be spent at approved merchants and cover essential bills, but they come with built-in restrictions. Programmable features limit purchases to certain categories, set spending caps, and may even include expiration dates for unused funds. Every transaction is fully traceable by design. For most households, these credits restore a sense of normalcy. Groceries can be bought, utilities paid, and basic commerce resumes. But the rules are clear. These digital balances replace frozen deposits for now, and every payment is monitored in real time. The message from officials is one of calm control, but behind the scenes, the financial system has shifted into a new mode where access and autonomy depend on the terms set by central authorities. When the digital credits begin to flow, the deeper transformation becomes clear. The Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, DTCC, already holds over 99% of United States securities, meaning nearly all stocks, bonds, and mutual funds are managed through a handful of custodians. This centralization brings both efficiency and risk. In a landscape where more than 100 central banks are experimenting with programmable digital currencies, the tools for instant restriction and surveillance are already in place. The incentives for authorities are practical. A total asset grab would shatter trust and destroy the system they depend on. Instead, the real risk is a temporary freeze that keeps people inside the network, not out. For retail customers, access can be suspended with a keystroke, while balances and claims are preserved, at least on paper. The best defense is diversification. Hold some value outside custodial platforms, whether in physical cash, precious metals, or assets not tied to digital entitlements. As the financial system becomes more centralized and programmable, the balance of power shifts. Personal agency depends less on promises from institutions and more on the choices each person makes before a crisis arrives. Today, over 99% of US securities sit behind custodians, not in your name. As central banks accelerate digital currency pilots, the gap between access and ownership widens. The next system shock won't just test your balance, it will test who truly controls your wealth. The question is, will you notice before it's gone?